So, what is the model minority myth? So, the model minority myth is the belief that all Asians are particularly hardworking or are particularly good at math and science, and all are uh, great students and attain high achievement in schools and in their professions. So one might say, what is so wrong about a positive stereotype? Well, the fact is that it's a stereotype and it does not reflect the outcomes for all Asian ethnic groups. So, in the United States, the term Asian or Asian American encompasses about 19 or I think more ethnic groups that make up the Asian American community in the United States, and it only accounts for the stereotype. Uh, May is based off of outcomes for particular the majority of the group, but particularly specific ethnic groups, such as people of Indian descent, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese descent, or East Asian or South Asian, or specifically Indian descent, that are have the highest income levels of any group in the United States and have relatively higher bachelor's degree or higher uh, achievement rates compared to other ethnic groups, including white Americans. And so though those stats may be true, but then other Asian groups that does not hold true for, particularly of ethnicities that immigrated due to being refugees escaping war or genocide in their home countries. Those groups have not seen as much success, whether academically or in their financial economic attainment. And the reason this is so is really due to how these immigrant groups ended up coming to the United States. So prior to 1965, during the civil rights era, there was laws in place that prevented people from Asia to immigrating into the United States, particularly during the late 1800s, when there was uh, those small but uh, new influx, I guess, of Chinese immigrants that are working like in the railroads or other uh, industrial jobs for low wages, and a lot of the white workers weren't happy with that, and there was a lot of backlash. There were lynchings of Chinese workers, and it prompted the government to pass a law called the Chinese Exclusion Act that prevented people from China and ultimately from Asia from immigrating to the United States. But the 1965 immigration law, it uh, allowed for more people from Asia to immigrate, but it gave special preference to either people who already had family members here, and also for people who have skills in highly coveted fields like medicine, science, technology, etc., that there was a shortage of workers for. And at that time, there were very few Asian representation in the United States. So the majority of people that are coming over were people that fit the criteria for being high skilled, highly educated people from their home countries. Um, so um, so this disproportionately the group that ended up coming here were far more educated and far more upwardly mobile than the general population from their home countries. Even though some people may have come over as family members of those who were skilled in medicine, science, technology, but because they are part of the same family, they come with the connection to those members who were highly skilled and therefore likely more upwardly mobile. So this explains the differences in education attainment and financial outcomes for Asian Americans, and I believe it's like somewhere around 80% of Asians in the United States belonging to those particular groups. Uh, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese, Indian. And one interesting thing here is, so they try to say that it's because of Asian culture, particularly Confucian culture, uh, that rewards or values educational attainment, a strong emphasis on education, and that's why they're successful. But of the Asian ethnic groups that have the highest income and education outcomes are Indian Americans, and India has no connection at all to Confucianism. So the explanation can be best be the fact that the immigration law favored those who were highly skilled and highly educated to immigrate over. So other ways that the model minority myth is harmful is because the fact that many Asian people were higher achieving in terms of academics, education attainment, and financial outcomes, the people in government, particularly conservative wing, use that example as trying to reason that if you could just work as hard as the Asians, you can be successful too, instead of complaining about discrimination and racism. So it was a wedge issue to say that black and brown people, why can't you achieve like the Asians? So you would only do so if you just worked harder like they did. So that's the whole reason, oftentimes, that this is even brought up. And so it though this model minority myth may kind of make Asian Americans more white adjacent than other people of color. However, this comes alongside with the other piece of Asian American identity as being the perpetual foreigner. So you can achieve financial success and academic success, but to being that we're only 5% of the US population, and the historical attitudes toward Asian Americans is that we're never truly American, that we're the perpetual foreigner. They always ask you, where are you really from, even if you were born here? So even though so not all Asian American groups, so as mentioned, those who came over as refugees have higher poverty rates, lower education attainment rates, and lower median income. But for those who do achieve financial success, also suffer from racism, such as because that Asians are thought to be people who just put their heads down and work hard, don't complain. They don't see that as leadership material. So very few Asian Americans end up in executive level positions within companies or firms. They call that the bamboo ceiling. And also, for example, as a perpetual foreigner, as you saw in the example of the COVID-19 pandemic, Asians were targeted due to accusations that they brought over COVID from China, and being that we're not really considered American, it made it easier for people to target Asian Americans. So this is how the model minority myth is harmful for Asian Americans, harmful for other minority groups, by making this a wedge issue of trying to say, why don't you just work harder, when the real issue is racism and discrimination, and that is why the model minority myth is in fact a myth.